It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Kylie, we all love our kids. I mean, we all love our kids. We're so crazy about them. But every now and again at the Happy Families podcasts, we receive emails like the one we received from a mum who is kind of saying school holidays are nearly here. If you live in Queensland, WA or Victoria, it's this Friday. Okay, Good Friday's coming up. Then there's sort of a staggering of holidays over the next few weeks for different states and territories. But Queensland, Victoria and WA, here it comes. And this mum's kind of saying, holidays are here. I love my daughter, but I think she's going to drive me crazy because I know what weekends are like. And now I've got a couple of weeks with her. Help. Kylie, read the email for us.
She said, am I supposed to entertain my child all day?
Yes.
She said,
yes.
Just over the weekend on Saturday, she made us watch a Disney movie. We went shopping and visited Grandma. I wanted to relax a bit and sit on the couch. My husband wanted to watch football, but she started whinging because we were not playing with her.
I can just hear it. I'm bored. I'm bored.
She wants to pretend play or go outside or watch TV. She said, I'm exhausted just in finding things to do to keep her from screaming and whinging. If that's just the weekend, what am I going to do in the holidays? Please give me some advice.
You can send your emails to podcast with an S at happyfamilies.com.au so that we can try to help you with the challenges of raising these kids. Now, there's a developmental reality to this, Kylie.
Well, and she hasn't told us how old her child is,
right.
Firstly. And secondly, it sounds like an only child, which challenges parents in a totally different way than children who have siblings.
Yeah, so there are arguments for and against having big families. This is one of the arguments for having big families. You don't really have to worry too much about what the kids are going to do. It's more dealing with the fact that they hate each other because they're bored and they've decided to go and do something or one of the other
one another.
Yeah. So let's go through three things. I mean, we could talk about this for a long time, but I just think if we spend a couple of minutes on three different ideas that are going to be helpful here. Obviously, depending on the age of your child, you'll have more or less input. You'll have more or less involvement. But at the outset, I think that it's really important to just work out what your expectation is for the break and what your kids' expectation is for the break and communicate that really clearly with your kids.
The word that jumps out at me as you're talking is scaffolding our kids. If we can create a system that actually provides and facilitates an engaging environment and relationships, that changes the dynamics of what our holidays look like.
Okay, so in other words, if you've got young kids, you want to have the kinds of things, the kinds of resources that make the environment feel enriching. We did an I'll Do Better Tomorrow just recently where we talked about how I didn't want it, but my mum insisted on this secondhand Vooley play equipment, hashtag not sponsored, just that's what it's called, this play equipment in the backyard. I didn't want it, going to ruin my grass, makes everything look ugly. We've only got limited space anyway. But since it's arrived, that one thing has been so enriching in terms of having the kids outside and getting them physically active. So having the right things makes a world of difference.
And changing it up regularly. So the other day in homeschool, one of the activities that was presented to us was to do Emily's spelling list using shaving cream. So I put some shaving cream on a tray and then she used her finger, a sensory play, to actually write the words.
Oh, right. Okay. So you've got a big foaming tray and she's just dragging her finger through it to spell the words.
Exactly. Shaving cream is the most wonderful tactile experience. It doesn't matter what age you are. There's something amazing about feeling the soft soapiness of shaving cream. She was having so much fun. I kind of looked at her and she wanted to start putting it all over her body. And I said, you know what? Why don't you go have a bath? And I said, you can take that tray in there and you can play for as long as you want. I didn't see her for an hour.
No way.
She just played with it. But it was about providing the space for her to do it.
Wow. So I think this leads into something else that's aligned with it, and that is that we've got to let go of the perfectible ideal. If you want to have your children having fun in the yard or in the house, you've got to recognise that maybe a swing set or a trampoline is going to kill your grass and ruin your outlook, but you're not raising grass, you're raising kids. It's going to ruin your dining table or make a mess in your bathroom or the living room or whatever. I mean, we've got Lego strewn across our living room more often than not at the moment. It drives me crazy, but I'm not interested in having perfect carpet. I want my kids to be creative. So creating that enriching environment and saying, to hell with the mess, that's what happens when you have kids, makes a huge difference.
And here's the funny thing, that Lego, only a few weeks ago, she actually pulled it out and she said to me, Mum, I don't ever play with this. Can we get rid of it? And I thought, you know what? I have spent hundreds of dollars on Lego. We are not getting rid of it. And so I actually just left it in the lounge room. And within a day, she had gone to it, started using it, and now, like you said, it's all over our floor. And she looked at me and she said, I don't think I want you to get rid of this, Mum. And this is something that's really, really important. When we have a tidy house and we put everything away, it's out of sight, out of mind. Our kids don't think to go and open the cupboard. They don't think about all of the things that will be behind closed doors. And so as parents, if we want to provide them with a stimulating, engaging environment, it's about pulling out a few different things every day that will pique their interest, putting things in a different place than they normally would be found. Kind of go, hang on a sec, why are those books there? Or why has Mum put those rocks on the table?
So this ties in with one last thing that I really have to say. A couple of weeks ago, we lost the TV remote. And I say lost in inverted commas. Everyone who's old enough can nudge, nudge, wink, wink, know what I mean. But we don't know where the TV remote is anymore. And what that has forced in our home is our children have had to become resourceful in terms of the activities that they're engaging with. There's limited access to laptops and telephones. And so the Lego does get played with for an hour, or a bath for an hour with the shaving cream is amazing fun, or time out on the swing set feels different because there's no pull towards the screen. We've moved over the last decade and a half from a person-based and play-based childhood to a screen-based childhood. And it's leading to lower levels of frustration tolerance, lower levels of emotional and behavioral regulation, lower capacity to deal with boredom, lower levels of delayed gratification, and it's hurting our kids. A screen-based childhood across this Easter break is the last thing that our children need. Therefore, as parents, we've got to set up those resources and help our children to understand the expectations, because they will have a much more enriching time if we can get that right. Number 2.
Involve other people. This is huge, and especially for an only child.
Yeah, Playdates.
If you are the only person your child knows and relies on for their social interaction and entertainment, you will be exhausted.
Playdates are a lifesaver. I've had several parents say to me over the years when I've said, hey, would you like to send your kiddo over to play with mine? They're like, oh, but you've got so many kids. Will that be okay? Can you handle it? And I'm like, do you know what? When my child has someone else to play with, it makes my life so much easier. So much less attention has to be paid because the kids are entertaining themselves. They're developing the social skills, the emotional skills. They're developing emotional regulation. They're learning how to negotiate and cooperate and figure things out. Developmentally, it's amazing. Playdates are a godsend when it comes to school holidays, especially for frazzled parents who feel like they're responsible for their child's every moment.
So maybe you switch it up a little bit and it's not so much a play date as it's a child swap.
Yeah. I'll have your kids on Monday and Wednesday. You have ours on Thursday and Friday or whatever.
But there's also the opportunity to involve other people. Maybe auntie or uncle live close by. Maybe you've got a grandparent or a close family friend who can spend special one-on-one time with your child or children. Just one day a week or even a couple of hours in a day.
Yeah, just
makes
one morning a week.
All the difference. Maybe they have a special activity that they just do with grandma on Monday mornings and they bake together. Or maybe granddad loves working in his shed and the kids go and do something with him in the shed.
Play with hammers and saws and power equipment.
This is the perfect time to introduce new skill sets to your children and involve them. Maybe it's gardening. Just the other week, we actually purchased a worm farm. That worm farm, I've had my daughter's fingers in dirt for days as she's found for worms in places that she couldn't find them.
And I need to say this really explicitly. I hate the worm farm. I hate it. It's messy. It's dirty. It's in an area on my deck that there's nothing about the worm farm that I like. But again, I'm not trying to have a clean deck here. I'm trying to raise kids who are actively engaged in their lives. So number 1, get the resources right so they can have an enriching time and they've got options outside of screens. Number 2, bring people in. Number 3, an extension of number 2, involvement is good. This idea in our email from our anonymous sender is I don't want to have to be with my child all day. But please note, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be with your child at all. In fact, there's so much value in being with your child. Kylie, you talked about all the things that you've done with our kids. And when you start doing something with the kids and they get engaged in it, they're pretty happy to go and do stuff on their own. So I just think you've mentioned baking and worm farms and gardening and all the other things that have come up in the conversation. You're teaching them new skills. Teach them new skills, giving them new experiences, being involved with them for at least a couple of hours a day, I think is essential.
From where we're sitting, having watched 3 of our 6 babies
become adults.
Yeah. The reality is the time that you actually have with them in those early years feels like it's never going to end.
Yeah.
But it ends, and it ends really, really quickly. And as we look to say goodbye to baby number 3 as she heads away for 18 months, the reality of that is really hitting hard.
936. That's how many weekends you have with your kids from the time they're born until the time that they're 18. 936. Look at how old your kids are now. Do a quick calculation. The numbers are dropping. And of course, you lose so many to work commitments or school things. Like there's always something going on.
I'm going to suggest if you're a tired mum, like this mum sounds.
936 sounds like a lot.
That sounds like a lot of weekends.
Yeah, but she's probably already down to like 400 or 500 or something like that. And really, this is just about being present. So when we've had school holidays, something that we've done consistently is we've just said, we're going to do one family activity per day.
Clearly you're not involved in the family activities because we don't do one every day because it's too much.
That's true. But we've tried to put together a list of here are the 8 things that we're going to do across the 12 or the 16 days that we've got for school holidays.
And this is probably my number 1 tip.
Yeah.
For holidays to work great, you actually need a plan.
Right.
So in the early stages of our family, we did create an activity every day and it was just too much.
Right.
The kids didn't love being dragged around everywhere all the time and I needed a break as well. So creating a system that works for you, whether it's an activity, an outing every 2 or 3 days, but then on the other days you either have facilitate activities, whether it's pull out the Legos, take the blocks into the backyard, create a mud puddle, create a water theme park in your backyard, whatever it is. Or just
do something with balloons and confetti. Like you can do anything. And if you're stuck, just jump on a ChatGPT. Create a free account on ChatGPT and say, I live in Sydney or I live in Newcastle or I live in Wollongong or I live in Brisbane or the Gold Coast, the Sunshine Coast, Townsville. I live in Adelaide, Clare Valley. I don't care where you are. Just type in, here's where I live and I'm looking for activities that I can do in my house or that I can do in my local area or that I can do within an hour of here. If you set that up on ChatGPT, it will give you as many, you can say 30 activities or 15 activities for my living room and say how old your kids are. It will give you local activities to go out and do. It will tell you what you can do at home. It's extraordinarily powerful software and it will do all the thinking for you.
This works even if you're a working parent because everybody needs a plan. Yeah. And I think it's probably more important if you're working and you've got limited time so that you feel like you're actually in control of what's going on.
Yeah, you kind of need to
know what's going on.
Prioritize your own needs as well. You've got to be there for the kids, but you've got stuff to do as well. So by putting together a plan, you give the children a structure or a framework to follow. You bring people in, you utilize the resources that you've got, utilize that AI. It is incredible. And hopefully that will help you to get through the next school holidays.
When you think about what kids need specifically, the acknowledgement that they need to know in advance what's going on. They need to know that their environment is predictable. When they're constantly at you, it's because they don't actually know what's coming up next. So my last tip, when it comes to holidays, tell your kids what the plan is.
And give them something to look forward to.
If you can say, Mum's got some work to do this morning, can you keep yourselves busy for the next couple of hours and then we're going to go to the theme park?
And here are your options.
Or we're going to go and visit Grandma at 3:00 this afternoon. So for the next few hours, I'm just going to get you guys to hang out together.
Here's the shaving cream.
That is going to make a world of difference because they know what's happening.
That's got to make your holidays better. Good luck. Enjoy. We'll be back tomorrow talking about what to do when your child is violent, when dysregulated, when they're hurting you or destroying things. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. And if you'd like more information about how to make your family happier, you can visit us on all of the socials. Dr. Justin Coulson's Happy Families.